Well, a very good morning and a very warm welcome to the inaugural EMEA Meet the Editor webinar. I'm delighted to be joined today by Amy McDermott, our Global Head of Sales, Charlotte Bunce, Business Development Manager and Co-Head of EMEA, and Tim Verbruge, Senior Key Account Manager. So we thought this session would be very timely, given that the EMEA deadline is just over a week away, on the 8th of August, key date for everybody. Note that down, please. I'll be repeating it quite a few times during this webinar. So we thought we'd take you through the submission process, newly introduced practice areas, and provide an overview of the commercial options available for your firm. So with that in mind, I'd like to hand over to Charlotte Bunce to take you through the next few slides.
Perfect. Thank you, Ella, and thank you for taking the time to join this session. Before Ella takes you through the submission process, we are briefly going to take you through some of our current initiatives we have here at the Legal 500. Plus, we'd like to showcase to you why it's important to maintain or create visibility for your firm on our platform. We've now been covering the Europe, Middle East and Africa region for over 30 years through our research and rankings. We've developed a platitude of initiatives such as the ones you can see here. For example, our GC magazine, In-House Lawyer, Legal Business magazine, comparative guides, to name but a few of the things we do. Our event series is also something we do, and that is something we'll touch upon later. And this all allows you to showcase your firm and promote firms within the region. All of our initiatives are driven by in-house demands and a desire to make sure we are producing the best content for our audience. We are constantly in contact with GCs across EMEA who will suggest certain ideas, topics and formats that we can put together to help GCs to gain the information that they are looking for when looking to instruct law firms. As many of you know, having visibility on the platform gives you the best chance to share information about your law firm and to validate your law firm and to win referrals. Over the last 12 months, the Legal 500 online has grown yet again. We have recorded over 5.9 million unique visits each year to our platform, and this has translated to over 20.8 million page views over the last 12 months. In terms of who uses the Legal 500, we conduct an annual readership survey, which allows us to get a better understanding of what parts of the Legal 500 platform and profiles are being used. As you can see, a vast majority of the leading companies across the world have used the Legal 500. And from our survey, we found the following information. 90% of the Fortune 500 energy companies use our platform, 91% of Fortune 500 companies, and 95% of FTSE 300 companies. Therefore, if you haven't already, now is very much prime opportunity and time to secure your firm's visibility online with the Legal 500. As we have said, ultimately, all initiatives that we have put together are GC-led. And I'm sure you can appreciate GCs and in-house lawyers are relying on legal directories more and more as a vetting tool, especially in industries that are rapidly expanding or markets that are constantly changing. So by providing lawyer biographies and having profiles in place and visibility on our platform, it provides that point of validation. So if you as a law firm in, say, France are looking to win referrals from another law firm, or you want to appear to have an international focus, or be the go-to law firm in France, or you want to have extra visibility, then having the profile in place and having your biographies in place makes it easier to win direct work directly from law firms and from general counsels that are actively searching. Even if an individual within your firm has been recommended personally, then a client is more likely to go directly to land on a third-party page, such as the Legal 500, where they'll get a better understanding of your lawyer and what services they provide and what they offer. Next slide, please. Over the last 24 months, we have seen our audience and sessions just in the EMEA region have grown and increased by over 5% to 2.4 million page views and 1.3 million users. This shows that our audience is engaged with the platform and that we are continuing to create content within EMEA that has viewers coming back to us year after year. If you look at our search engine optimization for the Legal 500, we have an excellent organic SEO. And therefore, if you were to use Google to search for the best law firms, for example, in the Netherlands or law firms in Belgium, the first or second search result on Google is likely to be the Legal 500 web pages. And if you profile on the Legal 500 and a client searches for your name, our SEO would boost your profile higher in the search results, meaning that your firm is further validated and promoted even within Google, making your firm easier to view from a global perspective as well. Additionally, by listing your firm's URL within your firm profile, this helps to boost your own firm website URL and push it again as the first or second result on Google when searching for your law firm. Now I've spoken for quite a while, I'm going to hand over to Amy, who will talk you through profiling with us.
Thanks, Charlotte. Yes, so as Charlotte has very clearly outlined, the visibility within the Legal 500 is paramount if you want to engage with the clients who are using the Legal 500 to make a decision about who to refer work to. Essentially, the firm profile is a one-stop shop for all information about your firm, and all of the content is driven by feedback from clients. One of the key pieces of feedback that we receive from clients is differentiation. They want to understand what differentiates your law firm from, say, another top-tier law firm or another firm ranked alongside you. So the key take-home about profiling from me is differentiation. How are you going to ensure that your law firm stands out? How are you going to ensure that the message that you have, that you get to share with everybody online is visible and is available? We can provide you with that platform, as a large number of you are already doing so, via the firm profile, the lawyer biographies, main work contacts, and providing specific information about your diversity, your mission statement. All of that information is collated in one place, which means anybody using the Legal 500 to risk mitigate or validate a decision that they've made can find all of that information in one place with the power of that third-party endorsement that the rankings bring alongside your firm microsite. The other big win is obviously if somebody is using the Legal 500 or a client is using the Legal 500 for primary research, they will go to a specific practice area page. If your firm is ranked, they're then not able to find out more information about your firm unless you have that visibility within the Legal 500. So it's really important that you are joining up the puzzle, ensuring that all of that information is available. We are providing you with a platform to use in any way you want to. So if there's some bespoke content that you want to add to your microsite, we really want to ensure that you are using the Legal 500 to get that message across and work in a way that that differentiates you to your competitors and your peer firms. One of the key ways that we're allowing firms to differentiate themselves this year is through our new initiative, which is called Meet the Team. So Meet the Team specifically focuses on your team's capabilities. So key pieces of feedback from clients have been, yes, we know about the law firm, we understand their ethos, that's great. However, we don't have a very good understanding of the individuals who are going to manage our issue, the individuals that we're going to be engaging with on a day-to-day basis. We are aware that the head of practice or a leading individual is ranked within the Legal 500, but we want to understand more about the culture of that team. We want to understand more about the associates within that team. And that is where Meet the Team has come from. So Meet the Team is essentially a section of the website and your microsite that allows clients to delve deeper into previous deals that you've done, testimonials specifically for your practice, and gives you an opportunity again to use the Legal 500 in a bespoke way to get your message across and differentiate your law firm. We already have across EMEA hundreds of firms who have decided to take on the Meet the Team initiative this year. And I'm certain that clients are going to be really excited when they start to see that content coming through, that again, there's more content from you via the Legal 500. There's a more personal approach. There's more opportunity for them to understand why they should be referring work to your law firm in 2022 and beyond. So thank you very much. I will now pass back to Charlotte, who is going to take us through the events portfolio. Charlotte, you're on mute.
Every time. You'd think we'd learn after the pandemic to take ourselves off of. But I will still learn from now on. I just want to answer a quick question that we've seen come through. We will have a recording of this webinar. It will be placed on our platform and you'll be able to see it then. We'll also get it emailed out to you, so you don't have to worry. So to go back to events, as previously mentioned, we have continued to build our brand through our online and physical events. Prior to the pandemic, we were hosting over 150 events a year, covering all ranges of practice areas. Some were sector focused and some were more generalized. These provide law firms with an opportunity to discuss best practice and to engage with in-house counsel. Our webinar series, which apparently I'm not very good at, was launched around 2 years ago now and was a very successful response to the pandemic. We found that law firms and in-house counsel could stay connected and discuss best practices and keep on top of the latest trends. We've held numerous webinars targeting an EMEA audience, with sessions ranging from the rise of ESG to challenges in data protection to managing cross-border disputes. Coming out of the pandemic, we are looking forward to continuing with both online events and physical events, embracing the concept of hybrid events too. Across EMEA, like I say, we've held a range of physical events, which are designed to bring together the best and most prominent in-house and private practice lawyers to discuss key practice areas and current issues facing legal counsel. All events are formed through our steering committee, which has been made up of prominent general counsel that are based in the country, the region, or the event is being hosted in. They will share with us what areas need to be discussed and what are the most pressing concerns, what's keeping general counsel up at night, and how we can discuss this and facilitate the conversation. Our event series all started with our GC Power List, which is a research project that has been going on for over 6 years now. The premise of this is to recognise in-house counsel, GCs and leading counsel who are driving their businesses, changing legislation and are not just seen as cost centres, but very much so on the boards of their organisation and are involved in key decisions that businesses take forward. We wanted to give something back to this in-house community after 30 years of recognising private practice, and we launched the GC Power List series. We asked law firms to nominate your clients, in-house counsel that meet the criteria, and then we have a separate research team who interview those GCs. We then put together a lovely grand cocktail reception in the respective country annually, and this brings together all of the GCs to celebrate the role of the in-house counsel. This started in around 2016, and since then it has allowed us to host a lot more events that are content-led as well as the cocktail receptions. These events have now expanded into summits and roundtables and other formats to give firms the platform to showcase themselves as the market leader and the key firm for GCs in that particular area. To give you an idea of the different law firms, barristers, chambers, or recruiters that have sponsored some of the different events that we've had across EMEA in the past, please do visit our event page at the Legal 500. Your law firm can get involved with any of these events, and if you are interested in any of these sessions, please do get in touch. I'd now like to hand you over to the main event. I'd like to hand you over to Ella, who's going to talk us through the editorial and submission process with you.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. I just a polite request before I start. If you have any questions, would you mind posting them in the Q&A function, please, rather than the chat? They will be addressed at the end. Thank you. Okay, great. So one of the common questions that I'm often asked is why submit? And I'd just like to talk you through a few factors there. Cool. So we're seen as the essential reference tool that helps businesses choose the right law firm. We, as Charlotte's explained, we're used extensively by in-house counsel, business leaders, and law firms. So we're a referral site as well. If you're looking to instruct a law firm in a different country, you'd go to the Legal 500 to do that. Okay, so we have over 5.9 million users annually, quite up on our nearest rivals, and we're analysing the capabilities of law firms across the world with a comprehensive research programme that we look at every single year. We revise to bring you the most up-to-date vision of the global legal market. Okay, so the rankings are based on a series of criteria, and I'm going to talk through a few of those later. But simply put, we're looking at firms providing cutting edge and innovative advice to corporate counsel. We're also considering the referee feedback we received, which is obviously an extensive part of our research process. And we're looking at feedback from over 300,000 clients worldwide across the guides, submissions from law firms, and the interviews. but really with our team of researchers. Okay. So now I just want to get onto the EMEA specific points here, the EMEA deadline and the process. So as I mentioned at the outset, and I'll probably be hammering this the whole way through, the deadline for submissions and referee spreadsheets is the 8th of August. So we're just a little over a week away from that now. How do you submit? Well, we ask you to submit via our submission site. And here you can upload both the submissions and the referee spreadsheets. And please do not email us any documents. For data security reasons, we are obliged to delete those. If you need further information on that process, or you want to download the referee spreadsheets and submissions, then please do visit the EMEA submission information page. Okay. So what's new for the 2023 guide? Well, an awful lot of fintech practices, as you can see there. So we've heard it mentioned, we're constantly monitoring the market, part of our research, looking at new sections, areas of interest, in conversations that come up with law firms and with corporate counsel contacts as well. And we decided to introduce fintech in numerous markets. In addition to that, we do also have international business reorganisations introduced as a new category in the Netherlands. And then expanding our bar coverage, we have Mauritius Barristers Commercial Disputes, which supplements the existing leading firm section in Mauritius. And again, please do refer to that EMEA submissions information page if you need to see the full list of practice areas. Cool. Yeah. And submission best practice. So I'm frequently asked about this. How should we be presenting our submissions to ensure that your research team have the best, can see the best account of our practice? So first of all, we ask for separate submissions by practice area, and that's separate submissions and referee spreadsheets. So if you are submitting for numerous practice areas, do separate them out. Don't provide them in one document. And submit on time and via the correct channels. So as previously mentioned, that would be via the submission site. If you do need to request login details for that, or re-request login details, because it's a year since you went through this process, please get in touch with our FAQ team. Okay. So what do we include in the submission form? Well, we have various sections, but I'd like to start with the matter highlights. So this really forms the bulk of the submission, the main body of work that you're presenting. And we are assessing work that happened in between August 2021 to July 2022. So you've got a few more days of this month really to get your best work into the submission form. Okay. So we want you to summarise the key aspects of the deal, keep it concise, provide a narrative. What's interesting? Why is this complex? Why is it innovative? What does it say about your firm and your practice? Okay, so kind of crucially, avoid grouping work together. It's always preferable to provide a distinct individual case summary. So we can see that little snapshot of work that you're doing rather than a roundup of work for multiple clients that is a little bit too generic. So if you can, pick out a case summary. Work can be ongoing. It's absolutely fine for a work highlight to be included in the previous year's submission. That said, please do update the matter description. We want to know what work you've done during that time period in question. And then complete all relevant fields in that submission form. So the dates of the instruction, the dates it may have ended or ongoing if it's still something you're working on, the team members involved, that's really crucial for us. We're looking for the individual rankings, which I will say a little bit more about later. We're looking at visibility in the submission. So we know we have an evidence-based approach to the ranking. And if you're putting forward people for leading individuals, next generation partners, rising stars, we do want to see that that's reflected in the matter highlights and they have that substantive body of work behind them. Okay. And it is possible to include the same matter in more than one submission form. Just make sure that you are tailoring that description to the relevant practice area. We have a quota of 20 matters. So you're welcome to provide up to 20 matters. I never like to discourage firms if you can't provide a full 20, but do keep in mind that the majority of practice areas in the Legal 500 are extremely competitive. So it's sort of in your favour to provide the 20 matter highlights. Okay. I'd just like to say a little bit more now about how we rank, about the client referees. Sorry, I just got slightly. There we go. So submission best practice. So I'm frequently asked about confidentiality and how we assess those matters from our point of view. So you're very welcome to include non-publishable clients in the work highlights and in that client list. And we do assess them equally. So providing that you are giving us the full information and it's not a generic description and it's not just a client in the food industry, we can assess that and we can verify that the work has taken place. All information included in the matter summary section, and this is at the start of the matter highlights form, there's 3 boxes just above that, should be cleared for publication. So don't include anything in there that is confidential. That matter summary, that team information, sorry, we're looking at senior level arrivals or departures. We're not too interested in trainees. So put down your partners, put down your senior associates. They're the people that we're looking at. And as previously mentioned, do provide that supporting evidence in the matter highlights. Okay. Cool. So on the client referees, we have a referee spreadsheet template available to download from the site. And I would ask that it's essential that you use this really. So do submit in the correct format. Don't be tempted to amend or add any fields because that will result in an unsuccessful upload and might mean that we're not in a position to contact your clients. Provide 1 referee spreadsheet per practice area. And the people that you're putting down do not necessarily have to match up with the work highlights presented in the submission. It's fine for your client referees to be people that you've worked with over the last 12 to 18 months. You can also put forward the same referee for multiple practice areas. And we don't limit the number of client referees. We do contact all of them, and we do that by email. Okay. And this considers how we're ranking firms and individuals. So to start with firms, mentioned before, evidence-based approach to the ranking. So we are considering the work presented in the submission. We're looking at your track record in a practice area. We'll be looking at perception in the market during the interviews, during the referee feedback. We're considering the calibre of the client base, any sector strengths that you may have, the bench strength, so the layer below partner, how are you servicing clients at a more junior level, and we're also considering team developments. So we're really interested to know who's arrived at the practice, how you've developed over the last year, update us, what's new. Okay, so on the individual side, you'll be putting forward leading individuals, next generation partners, and rising stars. And we ask you to provide a little summary section in the form with the bios. So for the bios, do avoid referencing awards and academics. They're not factors that we're considering for the ranking. We're more interested in the work that they're involved in and the service that they're providing to clients. So leading individuals should be those people who are headlining market-leading deals, the key names in the market. Next generation partners, we would expect them to be leading on work or co-leading on work, and they would typically be in the partnership for roughly 3 to 5 years. And rising stars are those people below the partner level. So associates really, people that you've identified in the firm as on the partnership track. We do also have recommended lawyers, and that's any individual who's mentioned in the editorial section. So that might be the editorial commentary, it could be the testimonials we receive, or the various boxes that we have, the field staff, practice head, and other key lawyers. And we do have logos available on the site to download for any of those people recognised in those categories, as well as firm logos that you can display on your site. And onto the research process. So you will submit by the 8th of August. Just to kind of mention that yet again, we won't commence research though until September. We do an awful lot of behind the scenes work with those referees and with the submissions, which is why we have what might seem from the outside a relatively long lead time, but it is essential to hit those deadlines. There will also be the possibility of interviews with the researcher. They'll likely reach out to your firm to offer you interviews for so many practice areas. In terms of who you should, or the practice areas you should be selecting for the interviews, we do say to concentrate on areas where you might feel that you are genuinely underranked and you'd like to put those people forward to talk to us, or where there have been developments over the last year. This is a new practice area for you. You've taken on a new practice head. There's a new work stream that you want to discuss with us. They're the kind of reasons for the interviews, really. That's what you should be thinking about internally. Then in terms of who should be on the call, that would be the practice head, the person who can speak about the practice as a whole, who's familiar with the whole team. And ideally, we do like it limited, just the practice head. Obviously, if you have more than one practice head, that's fine, but it just should be the practice head. Okay, so you'll obviously submit in August, and our research will continue until November. There are bound to be some changes during that time, and we would ask that you inform the researchers of this. So if you've had any arrivals or departures since that time, then do reach out, contact the researcher just to make them aware of this. The referee process will also get underway, likely in September. We email all referees, so that really allows us to contact the huge volume of referees that we do, and they're asked to complete an online survey. We will always preserve the referees' anonymity, so we do not share response rates, we do not share who has responded. We've got to keep that confidential. I've just seen a question, is there a vacuum somewhere? No, I'm not. I don't have a Hoover running at the side of me. I apologise if there's any noise. Okay, and how to make a good submission. So this is your chance really to sell yourself. What differentiates yourself from your peers? So this is really the firm's USP, and that should come through in the About Us section of the form. So do try to tailor that to the individual practice areas. And I'd also say that that applies to the innovation section. So the innovation section often for firms is a generic or a general overview of work, innovative work across the practice across the firm. And really it should be focused on what that department is doing and where the value add is to the client. Okay. So yeah, focus on the facts. You can tell us about growth, hires, new clients, panel wins. Panel wins won't be something that's applicable to all countries in EMEA. If it isn't, obviously just leave that out. But if it is, then do tell us. And use the matter highlights wisely. So give us the narrative, the background, some context here. Why is this work important? What is it telling us about your department? And also do talk about your strategic growth plans for the practice. You know, are you seeing sectors that you'd like to be involved in, or you are involved in, and that you are growing the practice? Yeah, do be prompt on the interview side. If you do want an interview, get your request in early. Be mindful that we can't interview all firms and all practice areas, but also be aware that not having an interview isn't going to impact on the ranking decision, because we are primarily looking at submissions and referees. Okay, and do prepare your partners for the interviews. So we're going to be getting down to the practice and the work that you've done, and we're less interested in marketing speak. And again, please do submit on time. So do aim to meet that 8th of August deadline. Unfortunately, if you miss that deadline with the referee spreadsheets, we're able to guarantee that late referees will be contacted. Cool.
Hi everyone, I'm Tim Bruges. I'm just here to give you a quick overview of Research Plus, which was a new programme that we launched in 2020, which I believe will be of interest to you. So, law firms often ask us, what is the reputation of the firm within the market? There's often a demand to understand what clients really think of the firm beyond what we see within the Legal 500 publicised results. And often firms get in touch to try and get an understanding or a grasp of how the firm compares with others, perhaps competing firms within the market. And there's also, leading to today's presentation, a real need or desire to understand how the Legal 500 submissions can be improved for future submissions to Legal 500 EMEA. With this in mind, we launched Research Plus in 2020, which is a bespoke service which will help with all of this and more. So Research Plus is a paid-for service whereby we develop a series of reports which coincides alongside the traditional research process that will commence from 8th of August onwards. It provides any firm who books an extensive and independent research into your firm's market reputation will provide you with feedback on your submission, and this is compiled by the Legal 500 research team. Just to give you an overview of what's included within a Research Plus reports, we provide you with an understanding of the firm's market reputation, reflecting upon the research process throughout the next 6 months. We'll give you an understanding of how your firm compares to peers or competitors within the market, and you also have the option to stipulate or choose firms that you'd like to be compared against. We'll provide you with a grasp and understanding of the full range of client comments and testimonials, which includes the testimonials and comments we don't publicise on the Legal 500 website, to give you a full grasp and understanding of what the clients are feeding back to us throughout the research. And we also provide you with analysis of your submissions, namely the Legal 500 research team will consult on your submission documents, make observations as to what was great about your submission, where perhaps it was lacking, but most importantly, provide you with tailored tip, support and advice as to how your submissions can improve in the future. And they'll also look through your client referee lists and provide tip, support and advice as to how your client referee response rate can improve in the future as well. Finally, with Research Plus, we also issue the Research Plus reports ahead of the Legal 500 EMEA rankings launch in April next year. And this means that you can look at the Research Plus findings and compare it against the embargoed understanding of how your firm has performed. And the other advantage of this for anybody in a marketing or BD capacity is knowing these results under the embargo. It means that you can then inform the partners across your firm as to how the firm has performed ahead of the launch. And it also allows you time to prepare any social media, PR or marketing ahead of time, so all communications are ready to communicate once the EMEA 2023 guide is launched later in April. If you'd like to find out more about Research Plus, my email address is on the screen. It's tim.bruges@legal500.com. And again, I'd be more than happy to have a quick introductory chat in the next week or so before the submission deadline, when the window closes, and answer any questions that you might have at all. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks, Tim. Okay, we've got lots and lots of questions. So I'm going to pass back to Ella. And I think the best place to start is probably for us to kick off with the Q&A questions that we've received. So thank you so much, everyone, for being so engaged and listening to us. And now we'll move on to answering the live questions in the Q&A function. So Ella, over to you.
Thanks, Amy. Thank you very much. I'm going to start with one that Charlotte actually answered already, but it's come up again. There will be a recording of this session and it will be online probably likely next week. So that's a nice easy one just to kick things off there. Okay, so I have a question here about rising stars. Somebody's asked, do you recommend that we nominate all our senior lawyers, and they're given the figure of 6 lawyers whose projects are highlighted in the submission form, or is it better if we nominate 2 of them with more years of experience? So on that one, I would say you really want to be limiting it to 2 or 3 rising stars, people who are actually going to have that body of evidence in the matter highlight section. So they need to be visible. We need to see that they're contributing to the deals. And unfortunately, if you're providing 6 names or more names than that, it's very difficult to actually see who stands out in the practice. I did mention earlier that the number of referees that firms can provide is completely uncapped. And that's really your opportunity to get forward referees for the rising stars, as well as for the more established team members. Okay, question also related to that: can a lawyer be individually ranked based on client feedback and the projects he or she worked on, even if he or she is not nominated in the submission form? I would say you want to be putting people forward, and then we can see who you in the team recognise really as the standout performers in the key names. So do put them forward for those categories. Okay. Commercial question here for Charlotte. Do you provide stats on the visits to the law firm pages?
Yes, absolutely. So the best time to get the stats for your profile page is after 12 months of visibility. If stats are something you're looking for, we're happy to provide them, and you just need to get in touch with your account manager.
And also, just to add on to that, if you don't currently have a profile with the Legal 500, but you are ranked, we are also able to give you an insight into who is looking at that blank page. Because if they're using the Legal 500 to look for your firm, you will still have a page at Legal 500. So if you aren't profiling, but you are interested, we are able to provide you with information of who is visiting that page and trying to learn more about your law firm currently. That might help you with your sort of decision-making process of why it's important to have that visibility.
And a question here from somebody who's envisaging a late night on the 8th of August. Is there a time that the site closes on the 8th of August? Yes, I would say you need to submit by midnight UK time on the 8th to ensure that everything reaches us. And somebody's asked us about our plans for African countries that we're not currently ranking. They've given examples of Namibia and Zimbabwe. We are constantly monitoring the market, looking at new practice areas and new countries to see where the interest is from both law firms and from corporate counsel. The countries that are listed here aren't in our current thinking, but we will keep abreast of that to see whether that should change. And that's the same really for all areas of EMEA. Next question here is, can you explain the respective importance of the deals and client feedback for the final ranking? Well, we're looking at the submission, but that has got to be supplemented strongly by the referee feedback that we receive. So we do need to see that people from the top companies are rating you on the top matters, and they kind of go hand in hand a little bit really on that point. Somebody's asked about the introduction part and said, as a firm, we provide submissions from 4 different fields. Does writing the same answers to the following questions negatively affect the ranking? And the following questions are your practice, the innovations, and what sets your practice apart from other firms. Well, I mean, what sets your practice apart is actually that department. So yes, that would definitely be somewhere where you need to provide a bespoke answer to the department that we're looking at, because it's not going to be the same for all practices. And on the innovation question, yes, we need to know that the legal technology that you might be using is actually impacting that practice area, and obviously indirectly the clients as well, or more directly the clients. Okay. What if the case falls within different types of areas of practice? Should we include the subject matter in different submissions as well? Well, this one did come up actually during the presentation, and the answer to this is yes. Just make sure that that description does change to show, for example, if it's the employment team, what did they contribute? What was their role in the deal? If you wanted to include it in the M&A submission, then it would be a slightly different write-up. So you'd be emphasising the advice that they provided. Okay. Can we submit more than 20 matters? Yes, You can, but we are not in a position to guarantee that more than 20 matters will be read. So I would strongly advise really that you do stick to that 20. And again, somebody's asked a similar type of question. Is there a limit to number of matters, client descriptions, referees? Matters we've answered. Clients, there is no limit. You can provide us with as many client names as you like. And referees, yeah, no limit whatsoever. You can give us as many names and they will all be contacted. We are often not allowed to name our client due to confidentiality agreements. Is that a disadvantage in our submission? What would be the advised procedure with that? Yeah, unfortunately, if it's going to be a very general write-up that doesn't allow the research team to fully assess the work that you are doing for that client, you are going to be at a disadvantage. I mean, there is obviously the opportunity to elaborate on that at the interview, if you can say a little bit more about that and about the client and the work that you're doing. But really, if you can disclose it to us on a non-publishable basis, that would work in your favour. How do you treat a submission with more than 20 cases? What is the criteria? Okay, so there would, we can't guarantee, as I said, we're not guaranteeing that we will be able to read more than 20. We might look at them, but we also might not do. And it would be just the first 20 that's listed in the submission. What is your advice if our fee earners want to include other law firm contacts as referees? Yeah, you're welcome to do that alongside the bulk of the referees really should be the client referees. They're the people that we really want to hear from, but you're also welcome to put down other law firm contacts. And it might be that you're working on a cross-border deal with partners and firms from around the world, and you're welcome to put those people down. I'd like to ask about client lists. How should we approach information about new or old clients? Is this about a new client for the entire firm or just a particular practice? Okay, that's quite an interesting question. That would be a new client to the practice. So it might be because as a result of cross-selling, or it might be because you've had a new partner joined, you've had previous relationships with that client, but you can put down yes to that. In a similar vein, what if the client falls into different fields of practice? Should we include them in other client referee spreadsheets? Absolutely. You can include referees for the same referee for multiple practice areas. On a practical level, they will just receive the one email from us. We don't bombard them. We don't want to fatigue them with the whole process. They will get that one email with various links to the online survey, and then really it's up to them to decide which practice area they want to comment on, and they also might have received one email that's asking for feedback on various law firms as well as various practice areas. I think that question has actually come up a few times. There is more information on that on the FAQ page if you want to have a look at that. What exactly do you mean by bench strength? Well, I'm not referring to weightlifting. This would be, the number of team members that you have in the department. We'd be looking at partners, and we'd also be looking at associates as well. Can we include a link to an online bio, or should the text be copied into a submission? Yes, you can include a link to an online bio. That's fine. In which category would you rank senior associates that cannot be rising stars? So I'd like to make clear that our categories will not always fit all lawyers. We don't purport to cover everybody. So we are looking, that rising star category is focused on that next generation, the up and comers who you and the firm have identified as the key people. And really you should be restricting it to those individuals. Okay, got a few repeat questions, so just scrolling down here. Do we have to save the submission form with a specific name, i.e. the practice area, or just leave it as it is. It's a little bit outside of my area of expertise, but yes, I believe that you do have to submit with our category names, and also when you come to upload that submission and referee spreadsheet, that option will appear for you. So you'll go to the country, you'll go to the practice area, and submit that. Do just be careful when you're looking at that. It often happens that somebody submitting for Spain might accidentally submit for Switzerland, but yeah, just be careful on that point. When can we tell referees when they will be contacted roughly? Well, we'll actually give you a heads up just before we contact the referees. We won't give you a date, but we will say referees will be contacted week commencing. And then if you have the kind of relationship with your clients where you can give them a heads up, you can do so. Do you require any specific format in terms of size or font? No, I mean, I just say make it something that's actually readable, not too tiny, but no, we don't impose anything on you like that. Somebody's asked, the capital market section obviously considers ECM and DCM work. Can we have 20 deals per equity and debt capital markets each, or is it limited to 20 deals for capital markets? And the answer is it is 20 deals overall, unless it is actually existing as equity capital markets and debt capital markets as separate practice areas. If it's that combined practice area, then it is 20 matters for both. Also, what is expected from firms to write on their commentary on previous rankings if it's their first time submitting? Okay, so this individual is referring to the part of the submission form that asks for your feedback on the rankings. What should they be putting in there if they're submitting for the first time? Well, yeah, you're quite right. You won't have any kind of feedback on your position before. You might have some more general comments about firms that you think that you could be benchmarked against, and that should come through in submission. We have that section in the form that asks for other firms, so you can note that down, who's on the other side. But yes, it's a little bit about that, and then your general thoughts on the rankings, because you obviously wouldn't have anything to comment on from your position the previous year. Somebody had said they have a few questions about the referees. Should the references in the Excel spreadsheet be the same as the client referees list in the submission Word doc? Do you only call the referees in the Excel form for feedback, not those mentioned in the submission Word doc? I think there might be some confusion here. In the submission document, you should just be including the names of the clients, so the company names, rather than providing individuals' contact details. The referee spreadsheet is where you provide full information on their contact details, their email addresses, their names, and we do contact referees through that spreadsheet. So that's what we use. We don't take information from the submissions. Okay. Tim, there's a question for you here. Is Research Plus available to firms that are not ranked?
That's actually a really good question, and the main point to consider with Research Plus is it's open to any firm who submits to us. So firms need to be submitting in the first instance for Research Plus to be developed alongside the traditional research process, but it's often used by firms who are perhaps ranked in no areas at all currently, or perhaps are ranked in a few areas and are submitting to new areas for the first time. And over the last 2 years, as Research Plus has grown, we've seen that it can be of great advantage to firms who perhaps for whatever reason haven't been successful in submitting in the past.
Okay. And also related to Research Plus, Tim, somebody asked, how should they get in contact about Research Plus?
Yeah, sure. So please do send me an email. It's tim.verbruge@legal500.com. And you can also find me on LinkedIn. And in terms of how we develop this, we prefer in the first place just have a quick 15-minute call so I can talk you through how it works, answer any additional questions that you might have, and that also puts us in a position where we can outline how much the service would cost, because it's dependent upon the volume of submissions that the firm's going to provide to us on or before the 8th of August.
Thanks, Tim. Somebody's asked, when you say not to amend the documents, does this include adding a line for more information on active key clients or other firms advising on the matter? So really for that client section, I'd ask you not to amend that or add anything, just leave it as it is. But when you get down to the matter highlights, if you find that there's not enough space there for you to list all the other firms that are advising on the matter, you can just add another line in. Is the list of active key clients supposed to coincide with matters and have the same order? No, not necessarily. It doesn't have to be in the same order. You also might be providing some clients to us on a non-confidential basis, and it'd be in the separate boxes there. Okay. Quite a few thank yous. That's nice. Somebody's asked, can you please provide an example of what you mean by innovation? Well, this might be something along the lines of a legal tech product that you've been involved in designing. So have you been involved in designing a dawn raid app, for example, for competition, or something slightly more interesting maybe than a dawn raid app that you can talk us through? What this section really isn't is a chance for you to say how teams have moved online through Zoom, through platforms like that. That, for our purposes, isn't innovative. Okay. Somebody asked me again if I could repeat the time the site closes on Monday the 8th. That's I don't think that's UK midnight time UK. I see quite a few people think they might be having a late night on the 8th of August. Is there any importance with regard to the order in which the matters are added into the submission? Or is that not considered more so the content instead? Well, we are reviewing everything, but I would just say from a headline grabbing perspective, why not put those big deals at the very start of the submission? Put your best work first. When are the rankings going to be published? Well, that will be in April of next year. So we do typically publish EMEA in April. When submitting several matters for the same client, is it better to separate them? Ideally, yes, but on the flip side of that, the submission should not be dominated by deals that are all for the same client. Obviously, you're welcome to put down a few deals for the same client, but it shouldn't be like 50% of your submission is just for one client. Who will be interviewed? Well, our research team will be reaching out to the firms to say whether they have enough information in the submission or whether they think that could be supplemented by an interview. We're not in a position to be able to interview all practice areas for EMEA. So we might decide that we would like to interview firms in a particular practice area because we know there have been developments over the last year and we'd like to find out a little bit more about it. Or alternatively, we might be saying to the firm, we can offer you X number of slots, you can choose. And just going back to what I said earlier, the factors behind your decision would be where, you do feel that you're underranked in a section and you'd like us to consider it again, or alternatively, where there have been developments in the practice area. And they're kind of the things that you should be focusing on, really. So just moving down here. Can we include more than one contact from the same company in the client referee spreadsheet? Absolutely. Yeah, no limit on that whatsoever. Okay. Just moving down again. Somebody's asked, can they include July 2021 matters in the submission form? And I appreciate why that has come up. with the work that we're considering for this year running right till the end of the month, and quite a few of you already having prepared your submissions for this year already. So ideally, the work should be focused on that 12-month timeline that we are considering. However, if you're submitting for the first time for a practice area, you're welcome to provide some older examples, a couple of older examples. It shouldn't be the bulk of the submission, so we can see work over a longer period of time. Or if you haven't included that work in the previous year's submission, you can include it, but our preference would be to see the work handled between August and July. Okay. What's the minimum number of projects a firm can make a submission with? Well, we don't have a set number of minimum projects really, or minimum amount of highlights, but just going back to what I said earlier, do keep in mind that the submission process and ranking is very competitive, and we are looking to see an active practice here. And really, realistically, few matters does not really indicate that this is a busy area for your firm. So somebody's asked a little bit about how the interview process works in terms of how the request should be addressed, and are we contacting the partners to set up the interviews? The people that we are contacting for the interviews will be that individual who is listed as the contact in the submission form. And it might be a partner, it might be a member of the BD team, but yeah, we're taking that information from your submission, so it's who you have said we can contact. Yeah. Can we email you the referee submission link, as sometimes emails go straight to our referees' spam? So, this is our research process, and we do want to take control of it. So in the first instance, we will always be contacting the referees, and we resend emails to referees who haven't responded for whatever reason. On your side, though, it might help if the email address from us could be whitelisted. So I guess I should probably make this clear as well. Referee contact is not done by the research team. It's handled by a separate team here. So the researchers are not involved in sending out the emails. It's all centralized. So the email address that clients will receive that feedback link from is editorial@legal500.com. So if possible, do ask clients if that can be whitelisted to ensure that it reaches them. On sharing that link, it is something that we're looking at, and it might be available for EMEA this year. If you go onto our site at the moment, for the UK and US editorials on the ranking pages, you can see that there's an option there that says provide feedback. And this is a year-round option to provide feedback for law firms. Obviously, you might not be aware of our timelines, but research for the UK is just finished. So it's obviously helpful in gathering additional feedback there. And we might be looking to include it for EMEA as well. Somebody's put up another question here, whether they can use ongoing matters in the submission if they've listed them before. Yeah, that's fine. You can include ongoing matters. Just make sure that that description is updated. What if various law firms put the same referees down? Yeah, it actually happens all the time. So they will just receive the one email from us with the links to the various surveys, with the name of the firm and the practice area. And then it's up to the discretion of the referee which one they want to choose to talk about. So yeah, just kind of be aware of that really. Okay. I'm just scrolling down here. Sorry, we're repeating quite a few of the questions. But somebody's asked, how do we communicate when we start ranking a new country? Well, actually, the same way that we communicate news of new practice areas, we do it the same way for jurisdictions. So this year we released the EMEA submissions information in late May, and that detailed changes to the practice areas that we've introduced, and it would also be there that we'd highlight new practice areas and new countries. And I think we also likely pushed it on social media as well. Is it possible to file a submission as a newly established law firm, depending on the partner's previous experiences? It is possible to send in a submission, and we are considering this, and the firm will be on the radar, but we do need to see not just a partner's track record, but that the firm is also handling work in the area. So if you've got 6 months of work, great, send a submission. That would be good to know. If you haven't got quite so much work, do send it in. You might be considered for our firms to watch category. Okay, so I'm just moving this down. Can non-legal staff be referred to in the submission? That's a good question. I would say it really depends on the type of staff that you want to highlight. So I know that the point of difference for some law firms is the fact that they have an economist in their competition team, and absolutely we really want to see this. Or look for maybe a more compliance-focused section that might be a forensics expert. I think that's quite unique and still a little bit niche. So yes, please do highlight that. If you're talking a little bit more about individuals who aren't legally qualified but might be helping the team in another way, and they're not the 2 exceptions that I've said, no, they're not people that we are looking at. If we are already in Banked 1 and the team do not submit this year, could that impact their rankings? Yes, absolutely. We are relying on you to put forward a submission so that we can see how active you've been and we can see the work that you've been doing during the year. So I'd say don't get complacent and do provide new submissions. Yeah. Are you communicating with the listed references even though they are not subject to the matters in the submission? I'm interpreting that as, do the referees have to match up with the matter highlights? And the answer to that one is no, providing that you've worked with the client referees over the last 12 to 18 months. Somebody's asked me to elaborate further on the panels that we've mentioned. As I said during that part of the presentation, panel appointments will not be relevant to all jurisdictions. If it isn't something that's the norm in your legal market, you don't need to mention it at all. It's nice to hear that we've got somebody from Washington DC joining us. So yeah, Michael, this will be this is being recorded and it will be on the website hopefully next week. Okay. Charlotte and Amy, how can we add our firm profile on your website? Thank you in advance.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. We would obviously love for your firm to take a profile and have visibility on our platform. The easiest way to do that is to contact us, so either Amy or myself, and we will put you in touch with your account manager who can take you through all of the details and explain exactly how it works and help you with the uploading of your profile.
Okay. I've just seen a question pop up related to Germany, and it's somebody's asking, should we be sending submissions for the EMEA guide? No. German research is underway, or the Deutschland research is underway at the moment, and we publish a translation of that chapter. We're not undertaking an additional round of research, so no need to submit for, separately for EMEA. Okay. Do we have to keep the format of one case on one page? No, you don't. We don't limit that. That said, we're not looking for an essay in this section. We're really not looking for you to be providing reams and reams of information. We want it distilled down to this is what we're doing. This is why it's important. This is how it's complex. And really, we don't need like a huge disquisition on this. Okay. where can we view our submissions from last year? Well, you actually can't. And this is why we encourage firms to keep their own records of the submissions. So for data security reasons, we don't share copies of previous submissions. I mean, our team cannot download the submissions. We can't email them around each other. We do take this very seriously, and we also cannot email them back or return them to you in any way. Okay. Do we have a minimum number for the team members? We don't have a minimum number, but be aware that we are considering bench strength here. So we want to know how you are servicing your clients at partner and the junior level. Somebody said, can we submit the forms in advance of the 8th of August deadline? Absolutely, submission site is open, please go ahead. What does it mean if a firm is ranked, but there is no editorial comment? Okay, so thanks for this question. So we will and can still rank firms without a submission, but we will not provide any editorial commentary. So to ensure that you are benefiting from this, please do send a submission. Moving down here. In which section of the submission should we put the leading individuals and rising stars? Well, we do actually have individual boxes, recommendations, a field for this in the submission. So you can make your nominations there for your leading individuals and your rising stars. And then as you move down the submission form to the matter highlight section, that leading individual really should be, or nomination should be featuring in that lead partner section. And your rising stars would be in that other team members area. Just one down here. Quite a few questions on the format of the template. I think we've gone through that. And yes, again, the German office of a firm does not need to submit a submission for EMEA. They will have done so for Deutschland. I think we've got quite a few repeated questions, but I think we've answered the bulk of them. Just if you're checking that. Yeah. I think we had a good number of questions. So thank you very much for everything there. Yeah, it's been a real pleasure this morning, and we will have a recording of this out for broadcast, I hope, next week. Yeah.
Also send this across via email to everybody who's attended today and registered. So all of the information will be made available to you this week. As we said, if there's any interest in any of the initiatives that we've discussed today, please do get in touch with us. All of our contact details will be available within that email. But yeah, just to echo what Ellen said, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Looking forward to receiving all of your submissions.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for attending.